My way is sweet and creamy, and I'm staying on it. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
I love to stay on my sweet, creamy way.
Oh, no. God, what a fucking perfect movie.
والتلفزيون ونجيب عربية كبيرة ونتفسح كل يوم. يا سلام يا سلام يا سلام يا سلام، أما دي كانت أيام. يا سلام يا سلام، أما دي كانت أيام. يا سلام يا سلام يا سلام، حبك خلاني أعيش في دنيا أجمل من الأحلام.
This is episode 159 of I Hope You Suffer. My name is Nathan.
I'm Kit.
I'm Katie.
And this week we are talking about 1981's Anyab, aka Fangs, the Egyptian Rocky Horror, with our special guest Dakota from the Contra Zoom Podcast. Hello, Dakota.
Hi, I thought I was Joey Lawrence IV.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Joey Lawrence Jr.
Or is it Junior? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the fourth would only be three juniors.
Triple junior.
I think it's Joey Lawrence the fourth.
What's the Joey Jojo Shabadoo whatever from The Simpsons? Yeah, so I think this is the first, and like what I want to try and do monthly as best as we can is trying to do a movie from like a country that usually isn't thought of as being kind of a horror hub. So like, you know, we've done like Japan, and I think we've maybe done a North Korean movie, or a Korean movie. I forget if it was North or South. I don't remember. And like, you know, Japan and Italy are pretty much like two prime examples of like where I think people think of a lot when it comes to horror. But yeah, I don't think most people think of Egypt when they think of a horror movie. And I had stumbled across, I saw the poster for this, which rules, on Letterboxd, and I was like, what is this? And I was like, I've been trying to find a way to watch it for maybe 2 months when I just gave up and like posted on Instagram. I was like, if anybody knows how I can watch this movie, please let me know. And somebody immediately sent us a link to the archive.net or whatever that had it with English subtitles, and I was extremely excited to watch it and also find out that it rules. So I've now watched this, I think, 3 times. It is extremely goofy. I find it very fun, and I think should be replacing Rocky Horror Picture Show in the future as the midnight movie. What did everybody else think? Dakota, what did you think first?
Okay, yeah. You described it as like Rocky Horror, but Egyptian version. So I was fully ready for that, and then I quickly looked it up on Letterboxd too, and was seeing it's like, oh yeah, it's like Rocky Horror, but except for when that movie gets super horny, this movie gets political. So it's a little intrigued by that definition. And sure enough, yeah, like it's literally like beat for beat Rocky Horror. We get the marriage scene between them, or I guess not really a marriage scene, and then going through the different actions. They get stranded on the road, and they walk in the rain to the house, and they knock on, they get this huge elaborate dance number, and then all of a sudden, like, it's hard shift to like a political allegory about how the ruling class are the real vampires of society, and they're sucking life/money out of the working class people. And I was like, yeah, I'm fully on board for this. And then, of course, there's plenty of disco dance numbers. So yeah, I was definitely enjoying it.
Kit, what did you think?
Any movie that uses the Jaws theme, the Munsters theme, and the Pink Panther theme is an automatic in my book.
Also, James Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got like the
James
fucking
Bond,
the
also
graduation theme song.
The graduation march.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Pomp and Circumstance.
Incredible.
I wanted Macho Man. If Macho Man walked out to that,
That's
the only way.
The
it
first
could have
thing
been
I
better.
thought as I was like, where's Macho Man at? And then I was like, wait, this is actually probably more familiar as the thing people walk down the aisle to for graduation.
It was good. I dug it. Very strange.
It's so weird. Katie, what did you think? Since I see you have the lowest rating.
Well, I want to start by saying that I'm not, while I understand how important Rocky Horror is, I'm not really a fan of it because I don't really like singing and dancing and things. So this was not my favorite just because of those like, there are things in it that I do appreciate, and I did really like all of like the costumes and the masks and like all of the decor that they did. And there were some things in it that I found like enjoyable, but overall it's just really not my bag of blood, so to speak. So I'm looking forward to hearing like more about what you guys like about it. Honestly, more than I'm just trying to say I didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I like you said, like I fully understand why Rocky Horror Picture Show is what it is, but it is, sorry mom, not a movie I care about. It is like one of my mom's favorite movies, and I remember it being a big deal when she showed it to me the first time, and I was like, yeah, this is good. I don't think I've seen it since I was probably like 13, maybe. Like I don't really care for it, other than the fact that like Tim Curry is great in it. Like the rest of it's whatever.
Yeah, it's
but,
been
like,
a while since I've seen it.
The songs in this movie slap. I'm fucking fully on board for all of the music in it. It was directed by a guy named Mohammed Shabel, I think is how it's pronounced, who has 4 movies under his belt. I think this was his first one. But he has a movie called Love and Revenge with a Meat Cleaver that I am dying to watch.
Ooh,
and it
that
seems
sounds
like
good.
I couldn't find a lot of information about him. I was trying to find stuff, and the only thing I could really find that really kind of talked about him a lot was, I think somebody that knew him wrote this extremely long obituary for him when he died in 96.
Aww.
And it was just talking about how, like, he was obsessed with, like, Japanese culture and kind of, like, was, like, I guess he kind of got started, he was, like, a radio host, the best I could tell, like, had, like, a radio show, and was sort of well known in his area for hosting this radio show, and then decided he wanted to make movies. And I think Fangs was his first one, and people hated it. And I think he kind of got a little bit more acclaim as he went, but like I guess people weren't really into this, and it became like this sort of underground, like lost cult classic a little bit. Like I guess it played at like Fantastic Fest a couple years ago. So, like, some fests will still do screenings of it, but it's still, like, it's only got 270 people have logged it as, like, on Letterboxd, which is extremely low for something that played at a Fantastic Fest. So, It seems sort of unknown, but I don't know. I liked it a lot, and I'm really interested to see what the rest of his movies are like, because he has... The Talisman, which just seems like a you know, kind of like a ghost story type thing. A movie called Nightmare that's just the description of it is journalist suffers from reoccurring nightmares about an abandoned mansion. And then the aforementioned Love and Revenge with a Meat Cleaver, which title alone I am extremely in. But yeah, I don't know. He's I like based on the thing I read, that like obituary thing, it seemed like he was somebody that like I said, he was like kind of way into Japanese culture and like went and like lived in Japan for a little bit, and then when he came back kind of got sort of heavy. I don't want to say heavy because like I said, like I'm not totally sure, but was kind of into a little bit of like, I guess it's also something I should have looked up. I'm not sure how Egypt swings politically. It's just a country I've never really looked into, but I guess he was a little, like, especially based on some of the political stuff in this movie, a little bit more on the left side. Like, you know, like in America, it's like you could be on the left and still be extremely, very much in the center, as we found out the last couple of years. So I'm not sure how it is in Egypt, but like, you know, he seems like he was, at least pretty on the left as far as it comes, because this movie is very much like there's a bit of like fuck the rich kind of aspect to it. So yeah, it seems like he was kind of,
I mean, true though.
Yeah, 100%. Kind of at least on that aspect. I wasn't really able to do much research into the people who acted in the movie, because it only has like the handful of main people on Letterboxd, and most of the movies it seems like they did, not any of the rest of them seem like horror movies. It seems like a lot of just like Egyptian dramas and comedies. But I don't know, like I felt like the cast in this is pretty good, like especially for what it is, because this isn't like obviously, like if equating something to Rocky Horror, it's not like a straight up comedy. It's very goofy. Like we were talking a little bit before Dakota jumped on about there's a scene in the middle it's basically like the Frankenfurter introduction in this movie, where Dracula comes out and sings this song, but is lip syncing and trying to keep the fake teeth in his mouth at the same time. It's so funny, and like it makes me laugh, but it also, the song rules, so I'm very on board with it. Also, I guess like, since I don't know, like the basic plot is just Rocky Horror, but instead of like Frankenfurter, it's Dracula. So it's like Dracula's having this party instead. So like everybody there, I guess, is supposed to be a vampire, except for the Igor and this couple that show up, Mona, and I think his name was Muhammad.
Ali.
Oh, was it? Why did I think it was Muhammad?
I think his last name is Muhammad. I think his name was Ali Muhammad.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay. And yeah, like the movie has like the same trope of like the narrator used. I will say that this movie uses it to a less effective point, because like the scene in the middle when they start talking about all of the stuff of rich people taking advantage of the poor, I was like, this is taking so long.
So that was like part of the movie that was just like the singing and the dancing, even though it's not really my thing, was like fine because, like I said, I really liked the costumes. Even though there was this really long scene, it might have been part of like the dancing break that we talked about. It was just like 10 minutes of people dancing and like no singing, where the people were just like taking off their masks for whatever reason. I liked the costumes, and the music was actually like pretty cool, like, you know, so I enjoyed that. But then during this part, I didn't remember there being a narrator from Rocky Horror, so that's on me. I just was like, what is with this? I called him the librarian guy. I didn't know what was going on with him. But then he's basically just like, but then like Dracula talks directly to him, and it's just like, vampires don't exist. And he's like, yes, they do. They're everywhere. And then there's like 20 scenarios of how, obviously, you know, the thing that was funny about that part, even though it went on and on, there was just like way too many. If they cut it down, I think it would have been more effective on me personally, because like I started nodding off, to be honest. But the thing that I thought was funny is like every scenario, every time, like it's like whoever the crook is in the situation that's like, yeah, I'll help your sick pregnant wife, but you have to pay me 10 pounds or whatever. It's always like the back of his head, and then he turns very slowly at the end of the sketch and just like opens his mouth to reveal the teeth, like as if, first of all, we don't know it's him, but also the teeth, I don't know how they did it, but like you said, the teeth were like falling out the whole time. So like that was funny, but that part to me went on way too long, and I was also like, I have no idea what's happening right now.
The teeth were definitely got like from a vending machine, right? Where you like put $1 in or whatever, like a quarter in, and it comes down the plastic ball, and that's definitely what the teeth is, right?
Yeah, it has to
like
be.
plastic
I mean,
Halloween teeth.
Yeah.
Because
like the rubber ones though, not the plastic.
I assume, and rightfully so, all of the money that went into making this movie was like set decoration and costumes.
It was like Dracula's coffin, because it had that like this like crazy big dragon sculpture on it, and I was like, damn, that's really cool.
Yeah, that looks cool as shit. And I kind of feel like that was probably, I bet that's something that already existed that they just shot.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm
like
sure.
they had like there's a thing during the dance scene when Dracula shows up and is like seducing Mona, and that has like this giant fucking, I can only describe as like an Easter Island head in the background that's also like got puppetry in its face that like doesn't come into play at all. It just kind of moves around while like all these people are dancing. That like I feel like that probably cost some money, and you know, as like a first time director, like this being a first movie, it's there's like some pretty good like set design going on, and like, you know, like the mansion they film in looks pretty cool. Like I don't know, like I like the way it looks, and especially coming from like you know, you look at like first time movies in like you know 81 that were made here, and like a lot of them kind of look like shit. So I think the fact that this looks as cool as it does is pretty remarkable. The one of my favorite things throughout this entire movie is when periodically there'll just be some weird animation on the screen. Like when they're singing the song at the beginning, and like
scene?
Yeah, like a heart will just pop up, or like periodically a thought bubble with words will pop up, like Mona thinks something, and I'm just like, what is happening?
Amazing stylistic decisions.
It's so good. I have had that opening song about everything being pink stuck in my head for like days.
That actually, like, the fact that you said that he was really into like Japanese medium stuff, the animations popping up and shit makes a lot more sense, because think about like Houseu with all the like, weird, you know, so that makes more sense to me now, whereas when I was watching it I was just like, what? Yeah,
I'm really interested, like I said, to check out what his following movies are like, because like I'm interested because it seems like the other three had a better reaction than this one did, but this is the one that it seems like most people have seen. So, like, I don't know. I'm interested to see how he kind of progressed as a filmmaker, because he only made 4 movies over something like 16 years. So like I'm kind of intrigued to like see if I could find the other 3 and see how he like progressed as a filmmaker. I don't know, what's some stuff everybody liked and didn't like in this?
Dracula's outfits.
Incredible.
Absolute king shit. Like, got the like puffy white pirate shirt with like the intricate gold vest over it.
He
just chilling, just lounging.
Like it rules.
Like gold boots with the heel too.
Yes.
He
Incredible.
was
Yeah,
definitely
with the heel.
cooler than Mona.
He looks like. I feel like the best way I could describe the Dracula in this movie is if Dracula was one of the highway patrol cops on Chips.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I was literally thinking that.
He's Eric Estrada. Yeah.
He kind of does. Like,
Yes.
he's got that weird helmet hair of the time.
The eyebrows. Yes.
You get pulled over fucking speeding on the highway, and he just like opens his mouth and these fangs fall out. And what else, Kit?
The just the weird, like, kind of swerves that it would take. Like, you know, there's 10 minutes where it's, you know, I wouldn't say a standard movie, but it's at least, you know, getting some plot out there, whatever. And then they get to the vampire house, and it's like, oh, here's just some sick disco, and all the vampires are dancing in a circle for 10 minutes, and everyone's just kind of boogieing, and it's like, what? And every time you think it's over, it just picks back up, and there's another vampire taking their mask off. Half of them have Kiss face paint for some reason.
Oh God, it rules so much.
Uh,
Like, their face paint looks like... I think Katie, I know, has seen this at least. The Dark Knight Returns animated series, when like all of the mutant leaders gang turns into like Batman disciples, and they paint like the Batman logo on their face. Like, a lot of their makeup
Yeah.
kind of looks like that, but just like red. It rules.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, like I'm way on board with all of the costume and set design in this, because it's just so, at least for like, you know, I guess what I'm accustomed to seeing, it's just very weird, and I'm here for it.
Well, I'm like very down with anyone who's dedicated to their costume enough to not only wear a mask but also face paint underneath.
Dakota, what are some of like the aspects that you like? What's some of the stuff of this movie that you really enjoyed, or didn't enjoy? Either one.
I like enjoyed it all. Back in like the mid 2010s, I guess, however you say that, it seemed like almost every festival was booking this musician named Omar Suleiman. And I don't know if any of you know this guy, but he, I can't remember exactly what country he's from, but he plays a style of music that's called dabka, which is basically wedding music. And so in his home country, he's released like over 100 albums. But over in North America, he only had like just put out his debut album, and he kept being booked at these festivals. I loved every time I would see him. It was sort of similar, where the music that were playing this was kind of reminiscent of that, but with like a disco twist to it. So it was like really interesting. But it's basically just like music that you dance to at a wedding. So it's like super fast, lots of like, you know, drum beats and synths and stuff like that, where it's just really fun, where you can see yourself, you know, in a big group of like your family members all dancing in a circle sort of thing. That's the type of music it was going on. And so like, as soon as we got that like Dracula introduction house party scene, I knew exactly what sort of music it was trying to reference there. And yeah, I was definitely down for that.
Yeah, it's I like I said, I love the music in this. That first song that Ali sings has just been stuck in my head since I first watched it. Just like specifically like the part where like he's clapping and stuff, and it's so goofy, and like I don't understand, like they constantly keep coming back to referencing like people that think everything is pink, and I'm just like, I don't know what that means, but I get it.
Is it supposed to be like rose-colored glasses?
I
kind
guess.
of sentiment?
Because then it just
Yeah,
immediately...
I wonder if some of the stuff's lost in translation or something like that.
Yeah, that's the only... The one thing I'm kind of curious about is, like I said, like, it's... The only way I could find this with English subtitles was on, like, an archive website, and, like, who knows how accurate a lot of the translation is, for one, because it's just some shit somebody uploaded. So...
Right.
I guess take with a grain of salt that anything we read was correct.
Yeah.
But we're talking about it all
found...
wrong, and it's really like a right-wing propaganda movie that we just didn't.
Oh my god.
But yeah, like, speaking of like that sort of like political leanings, I thought there were like quite a few really interesting symbolism. Obviously, like really hits you over the head when they do like 7 or 8 different sequences of the guy turning around being a vampire trying to extort people. But like there's a couple different lines. There's one early on during, I think it was during the song when they're taking off their masks and Mona freaks out and Dracula or someone says, "We all wear masks." And so like obviously that has some sort of a connotation as like hiding your true self and stuff like that.
Right.
And obviously I don't know how direct the translation was throughout the whole movie. Like there's obviously like some syntax errors where you have to sort of fill in the gaps of like, I understand the gist of what you're saying, even if the sentence that I'm reading on screen doesn't quite make sense. But there's a couple like just little allusions like that where you're just like fully understanding what the director's, thesis statement of this movie was.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I really wish someone like Vinegar Syndrome would release this. And even just like, I don't know how easy it would be, because like I said, like the director died in like 96, so, but like I'd just be fascinated to like hear, like just see the little featurette or documentary about this dude and like making these movies, and especially this one. Like, I don't know, Vinegar Syndrome would probably just crush a Blu-ray of this, and I can't believe, like, especially with like the way kind of boutique movie labels are now, that this hasn't been picked up by somebody yet. Because it just feels like, especially if this plays like kind of those bigger movie festivals, like it's just wild to me that this is, I guess, as unknown as it is, because it just feels like just goofy enough and like interesting enough that it would just like kill on like the festival circuits.
You know that one day there's going to be like Vinegar or Arrow or someone like that puts out like the greatest hits of Egyptian horror.
Yeah. Like I would be so into that. I would like, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of these movies probably just got like lost to the ages just based on like how shit that fails gets treated. But like, I don't know. I'm endlessly fascinated after watching this, and just like the little bit I was able to read about Mohammed Shabel, like how I want to know more. I'm very, very interested now, and I'm hoping somebody at some point in the future will kind of at least put this out with any kind of info they could find about him, because I'm fascinated. Katie, did you go yet? Some stuff that you like, dislike? I think I'm more interested.
No.
I want to hear like the stuff that like, other than like, the scene you said that we talked about Dracula turning around 100 times. Like, what were some of your issues?
Honestly, like, I just don't feel like I understand how to appreciate singing and dancing and stuff like this. Like,
Well, based on Suspiria,
I don't know.
we all know I like a dance scene, so.
You do. I don't know. I think part of what was like difficult to me is that like I just like don't have a brain that understands it. So when things would happen, I just was constantly like, I don't understand what this is, or like I felt like the other thing that was weird to me is like now that you said it was his first movie, like I get it a little bit more, and it's like very clear that this is like there is a lot of detail in this movie, but I felt like I know this was 1981, but the mixing, like the music started way too dramatically for me. Like they would be talking and then it'd just be like, like all of a sudden, and then like the jumps between scenes, and then they were like really harsh also, and I was like, what? And then they kept doing this thing where they would like flash on images of other things, but like it just didn't make sense to me. So I guess I just had a hard time following what was happening because of the way that it was like edited together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not everybody's thing, you know, like especially musical stuff. So, like,
yeah,
I get that.
no, but
I honestly, like
some of the
personally,
things-
most musicals I also cannot stand and can't deal with. So
yeah, I just am not. It's just not my thing. But like that was my main problem with it. Just the way it was like visually edited together, and then also it was pretty long to sit through if you don't want singing, because like most of it's singing. And I like I said, I didn't really mind the singing. Like the music was at least interesting. It was a little bit different. I'm not really super into disco music or like things like that, so that was kind of interesting to me that I like appreciated the music a lot more than I thought I would. But I guess maybe if it's been a really long time since I've seen Rocky Horror. I feel like maybe if I was more familiar with that, it would have helped a little bit not feel as weird to me. Because like I said, that whole like narrator guy, I don't remember the narrator at all, and his parts to me were just like very strange. Like I didn't. But
it's also because
I don't know.
I think the thing Rocky Horror does with the narrator that works better than this one does is I don't remember the actor's name that does like the narrator in Rocky Horror, but he adds like some oomph to when he's talking, and this guy's just straight up like reading out of a book. So he is kind of boring, but like I will say that anytime they do that thing where they do like 10 fucking little scenes of like Dracula, Dracula's supposed to being like the rich ripping off the poor, and every time they come back and he's just like overly laughing, it made me laugh so much. It was one of those things where I was like, this is funny, and then it got really annoying, and then it became funny again, as how long it went.
Just commit
I'm
to the
not
bit.
kidding you.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. The point where one of them was like they were showing them this like apartment that was being built or whatever. At that point I was like, this has probably gone on so long for somebody that it's funny again. That person's not me, but I I got what they were going for. It was just too much for me.
It wasn't even it wasn't even like for me. Like, it was every time they cut back and he's just cracking up, but it's the loudest, like, fake laugh. So, like, that's the part that, like, it hit, like, the 8th time, and I was like, alright, I'm back on board.
Oh my god. I was just like, please, give me some more dancing. I can't deal with this bit anymore. I don't know, like, I did think that one of the parts that I liked was when Dracula was sort of like explaining his family. He's like, here's my father, Vlad Dracula. Here's his father, Nosferatu, and then they show like a picture of like Christopher Lee as Count Dracula, and he was just like, yeah, I don't know, he stopped being the Dracula and is like an actor or something, and I thought that was very funny.
It's so good. I forgot all about that till just now.
Yeah, because like as I've said in one of my like, I don't remember what movie it was, but we were talking about like different Draculas and stuff. He is like the one that I grew up with, and he's my favorite. So the fact that there was kind of like that he was a part of that, I thought was very funny. And then the dinner scene was very strange to me, but there's like one point where the like Igor character is like pouring everybody quote unquote tomato juice, and he's like pouring it, and then he gets to Ali, and Ali's like, what is that? And he goes, it's tomato juice. And Ali like covers his glass, but Igor, what was his name? Shalad,
yeah.
He just like pours it anyway, like over his hand, and it like, I don't know, that part I thought was very funny. And then I've also never seen, there was one of the vampire party guests that was like sucking the tomato juice up in a straw, but like into his bite wounds. And I was like, well, that's something I've never seen.
I think like I posted it on Instagram, I think the first time I watched this, and I think my favorite shot in any movie of all time now is when Dracula zooms in on Mona's neck and it just like has that weird kind of bullseye thing and just says fangs go here. I was like, I fucking love this so much. I took a screenshot of it so I have it. It's so fucking good. It's very cheesy and weird, but I love it.
And then I think there's also one of the guests who used a syringe to draw her own blood and then drank it.
Yes.
Which, I don't think I've ever seen a vampire drink their own blood, because I don't know. I feel like vampire lore is they don't have blood anymore, so that confused me a little bit.
They do, because I think in a lot of vampire stuff, like you'll have to be bit and then drink from that vampire's blood to be fully turned.
So usually it's like they have blood, but it's considered like dead blood. So you couldn't like drink the blood to stay, like if you're already a vampire, you couldn't like get nutrients from it. So, but yeah, no, I'd never seen that. Also, the sound effects in that scene were very loud. It was like,
also, like
I was like, okay then.
There's so much like silverware hitting plates as they're eating.
Oh, I did not like that.
But I also like, spoiler for an episode coming soon for me and Katie where we're watching Amityville movies again. I take sound editing a lot more seriously now after watching the Amityville Asylum, where
holy shit,
half the movie you can't hear any of the dialogue because they edited the sound so loud.
Like, like for real, I was like taking Snapchats and screenshots of it because like the music was so loud, the subtitles couldn't hear what they were saying. It would literally just say music too loud instead of like whatever they were saying. And I was like, wow, this is terrible.
So yeah, like after I'd watch that and then rewatch this, and I was like, sound editing in this is pretty good.
I mean, again, though, like you having said, like it is the loud, weird sound effects to me is very reminiscent of like some of the older like Japanese horror stuff too, though. So I mean, it works.
It's also
I just was like, oh,
it's also one of those things where it's like this is a first movie he made, so it is like you cut some. I feel like at least I do. I'll cut like slack for somebody on their first movie, as opposed to their like 15th where they haven't learned anything, or like in the case of like some of the people we've covered on here where we're covering their like 70th movie and it's just still just borderline unwatchable. Talking about you, Polonia brothers. I don't know. I really like this movie. There are some stuff that goes on for a little too long, but nothing that really bothered me. Like
the murdered chicken.
Oh fuck yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I'm gonna post the link of where people can watch this, like probably right before like the episode comes out and stuff. So if people want to watch it, they can. But just FYI. And I'll definitely, when I tweet about it and stuff, there's a live chicken that gets killed in the first like minute or two. You can't. It's like it's kind of hard to see. Like it took me a minute to realize it was real the first time I watched it, but it's definitely like they cut the head off a chicken that then runs around like that's interspersed with like a dance scene for some reason. I still don't understand.
Very bizarre choice.
Yeah. Because then, like, when that happened, I was like, oh, where's this fucking movie going? And then it just turns into, like, a very goofy, and I was like, this is a strange choice.
We also have a question. Oh, sorry, Kate, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, are we also going to acknowledge the fact that in the final big fight sequence, it basically was edited like the 1960s Batman TV show, where every time they land a punch, it would be like, boom, bam,
oh, shit,
boom.
Yeah. That fucking rules too.
Just add the references one on top of another, like just perfection.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kit.
I forgot how much that final sequence fucking ruled.
Yeah, it like where they all start like I guess exploding from the sun. It's so good.
Yeah.
And like some of the makeup is so like so bad that it kind of is extremely charming.
Slowly
yeah, no,
melting.
I will agree with that. Yeah. The way that they
Eyeball
painted some of
falling
their
out.
faces, I was like, oh, the eyeball. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
That's like what when you Google this movie, like one of the very few images that comes up from it is that of like the dude with the eyeball like hanging down his face a little bit. Ugh.
They missed the opportunity to have the fangs fall out for real.
I'm very curious if this movie was set up to like lead to a sequel if it was like popular, because it ends where like, so spoiler,
Oh my
where the
god.
narrator gets done talking and then rips off his face and is Dracula.
And he does the mouth open thing one last time. I was like, they fucking got me.
It was this whole movie was just like a million different scenes of just Dracula turning around every minute and just
pulling off his mask.
Oh, it's so good. I'm gonna try and cut out
Mona was actually Dracula.
at least like 2 of the songs to put in the episode, because I need Waxworks, somebody, to release this on vinyl. I will listen to it all the time. At least just fucking somebody put it on Spotify or something for me.
It almost reminds me of the bit of, I don't know if you guys have watched like the original Arrested Development seasons, the episode with Gene Parmesan, where he like turns around and Lucille just freaks out every time, like, ah! Like that's what that whole sequence reminds me of.
It would be so funny if like you listen to an audio commentary and they're like, yeah, so there's this like obscure Egyptian movie called Fangs that we got this idea from, because there's a scene in the middle where this happens 140 times. Yeah, I don't know. Big thumbs up for me. I think I gave this a 4.5. I love it. This has like become one of my favorite movies. Like, it's like right up the alley for me of being like just goofy enough without crossing the line of being like too absurd, that just like hits the spot for me. Obviously Katie disagrees, so
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to think of who I would recommend this movie to.
I mean, if you
I don't know. I mean,
a lot of people like Rocky Horror,
Yeah.
and I feel like if you like Rocky Horror, even just for the like novelty of it, if you like that, I would say watch this, because like the references are definitely like extremely heavy-handed, but like
And the dude puts on a Rocky Horror T-shirt at one point.
yeah, it's like I don't think we even mentioned it
yeah.
either. Like at the beginning, there's a song called Fangs that's like literally red lips on the screen with someone's like, I think like the whole bottom of their face painted black, so it's because they couldn't. I'm
Yeah.
guessing he couldn't figure out how they did that in Rocky Horror, where it was just the lips.
Just the lips, yeah.
And then also, it'll be like fangs, 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 and then like the red lips will open, and then it has like like the cheap ass fangs too. Perfect. This is what cinema's all about.
Fanging and banging.
Oh.
But yeah, I guess everybody but Katie probably recommends this.
I mean, I would never watch it again. I feel like there is an audience for it, though. Especially if you are somebody who likes, I don't know, unique musicals with dancing. Like, I think it's one to check out. But yeah, it was. I mean, it's fine. I think, did you watch the like Halloween episode from the last season of Bob's Burgers?
I still have not watched, I think, the last 2 seasons of Bob's Burgers.
Okay. I thought it was really funny that that I'm wondering maybe now if this was like, there's the Halloween episode is called Vampire Disco Death Dance, and it's literally about how Bob is obsessed with this Rocky Horror-esque thing, but it's vampires. That's called Vampire and Disco Death Dance, and he takes like Tina, and it's like a whole thing. The episode's really good, but I was like, wow, this is kind of like eerily a similar theme, so it's really interesting.
That'd be so wild if Bob's Burgers was just like, let's do an episode about Fangs.
I mean, I don't know. Watch it. Let me know what you think. But that was like immediately my first thought when you like recommended this. I was like, interesting.
Yeah, I have a growing list on Letterboxd that I have that I'm saving for like, because like my idea, and like, you know, obviously we have those times where periodically we'll stumble across an idea of like doing a month of something. But like I'm thinking I want to try and do at least like once a month, trying to do something that isn't, or that's from like somewhere else that's not a shitty fucking movie on Tubi. We don't end up fucking stumbling into Asylum Films stuff.
No more. Stop them.
Yeah. Wait, one of the Amityville movies we started watching, and I was like, God damn it, this is an Asylum movie. And it, spoiler, was an Amityville movie and found footage from Asylum, and it is, as bad as that sounds.
It's worse than it sounds, honestly.
You lucked out.
There's a reason I avoided that.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know. Anybody got any last thoughts before we jump into news? Anything on Fangs?
I'm so ruthless.
I also like how it ended when them running out of the house of the horror palace, as it was called, and they're running through the pyramid. Which, if anyone has seen pictures of what Cairo looks like, the pyramids are like literally right at the edge of the city. It's kind of crazy if you actually look up how close it is. So it's just kind of funny that it's like them supposedly running through the desert, and then all of a sudden there's a band there as well, and the band runs away, and they're like running amongst the pyramid. Icing on the cake, chef's kiss for that.
I feel like if I was making movies in Egypt, and like, you know, like they always like, I think one of the things like a lot of kind of directors that started out doing obscure indie stuff that got popular is they always say like, use what you have access to, especially when it comes to kind of background scenery. And I feel like every movie I made, I would just be like, yep, here's pyramids. Somebody's just at least going to go running by them. There's the Sphinx. I don't know why the Sphinx is here for this ghost movie that takes place like inside a house, but there you go. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, my last thought is I would kill for the bat necklaces that they get after they change out of their like wet clothes into like the Dracula house. They have these like huge, like they're almost like chest plates of like golden bats, and I was like, oh, I need one of those. That's my last thought.
I bet it would be pretty easy to get something like that made.
I'm pretty sure my wife wants to dress up as Mona, including like the little bat ears and that giant bat necklace. She's all over that.
Adorable. I love it. Please,
I think
you can be Dracula.
My last note is that the structure of Allie's face is incredible, and he's extremely handsome.
For days.
I was
It's actually funny. He looks quite a bit like a friend of mine. So while I was watching that, I took a picture of my TV and sent it to him, and like he does kind of look like Ali. So it's very interesting. I mean, I'll send you guys a picture later offline.
I was just like, God damn, this dude is handsome as hell.
We need him to. Yeah. Wow.
Who's the guy in Rocky Horror that plays that role?
Barry Bostwick.
Yeah,
that's
Bostwick,
right. Yeah, I can see that. they look the same.
Yeah, you know.
Right.
I also did think, like, for everything I said, I think that most of them had very nice singing voices too. I don't know if that was actually them or if it was other people. Like, obviously they were lip syncing regardless, but I thought the voices were very nice.
Yeah, I genuinely like the songs in this movie. I think they're very good, and like, like I said, I would listen to.
Except for the creamy one, I agree.
No, I'm on board. I mean, you don't know what he's saying if you're listening. I guess now you do, but like, life is creamy. I don't know what to tell you. You're not living that creamy life. You're doing it wrong.
I know he said ecstasy at one point, and I was like, "Oh, bro, no, lock that down."
All right, Katie, news.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about He's All That being out.
Talk about what?
He's All That. The She's All That remake that shut down a COVID site to film in California last year.
Well, I'm really mad about that because the lead is somebody from Cobra Kai who I do not care for. So I'm not going to talk about it. You guys already know this, but Scream Factory is re-releasing Blu-ray for director's cut for Krampus that I am very excited about. I don't know anything about what was left out or what they're adding, but I am stoked because that's one of my favorite movies. And then also they're releasing the Blu-ray of course, Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Yeah, perfect movie. Honestly,
yeah.
I'll say it. I said it in the episode Caitlin and I did on Nate and Kate Movie Club. The best Mel Brooks movie.
It's very good. I very much enjoy it also.
Still, like we talked about it in whatever. What was the episode we just did recently that it came up? Oh, the bonus the Keanu Reeves episode where we talked about
yeah, because we watched Dracula.
Yeah, the scene with Steven Weber getting spiked is like still to this day one of the funniest things that I've seen, and it still makes me laugh every time. And knowing that he had no idea that was coming is just perfect.
I love it. I have a lot of fond memories of it. I've been loving all this Dracula and vampire talk recently that we've just happened to have. Also, I saw that they are doing a remake of this Danish movie called The Guilty, but the remake is going to be starring Jake Gyllenhaal, also Ethan Hawke, and wait, here we are again. Peter Sarsgaard.
Still
who you know is the star of the Green Lantern. Anyways, the movie is going to be out for Netflix, and it's the creator of True Detective has some sort of play in it, so I'm going to watch it. And then you know how we kept joking that by the time we speaking of Amityville, by the time that we finish like watching all of the movies and doing episodes, like 10 more are going to come out. Literally, they just announced another one that's coming out on October 5th. That's called Amityville Moon, and it is about werewolves.
I'm so glad that Katie and I have decided we're doing one more Amity episode.
And that's it. It's just wow.
I think when Amity Cornfield comes out, we'll have to do a regular episode on it because there's no way we're not gonna talk about Amity Cornfield, whatever the fuck that movie is, and make Kit watch it.
Yeah. So far, Kit's only had to watch one that was like actually good.
Yeah, Dakota, I don't like because I remember when on the episodes we did with you, you said you weren't like horror movies weren't totally your thing, and like sometimes actually kind of you did get like scared by them. So I don't know if you've seen any of the Amityville movies or not.
No, I have not.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Okay.
Even the good ones aren't very good.
Yeah, like the first handful are fine and totally watchable, but once you get past like the remake in 2005, it's just all unwatchable. I haven't gotten to Amityville Vibrator yet though, so I don't know.
Amityville Library?
Vibrator.
Oh. Ryan Reynolds is in the remake, yeah. I think that Dakota would appreciate the original.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I say watch the first two, and then the one about the clock, and then you're good.
Oh yeah. The second one is really good. I don't know. neither of them. Well, the first one is like not very scary, but I think you would appreciate it just like for what it is. Knowing some of the things that you like about some of like the older ones that we talked about, so I would still recommend that one to you.
Okay, I'll watch it with the lights on.
I recommend Amityville Clown House.
Oh no.
These movies are terrible. All right, let's get back to the news.
Oh, that's my last news.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was a thing that came out yesterday that apparently Fede Alvarez, from the director of the Evil Dead remake, is doing apparently a Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake that's now going straight to Netflix. So,
Ooh.
oh boy. Please stop making these movies. Unless Leatherface is going to space, stop bothering. Like, it's just...
Or Leatherface versus someone like...
Not even that. I'm just
know.
stop giving these movies $40 million to be made and then everybody hate and still go watch. Like, break that $40 million into $22 million, movies from people trying to make a movie that haven't been able to yet. I would rather see a bunch of new filmmakers get like $2 million to make their movie than these just horrendous remakes still getting made.
Yeah, we need a Santa Jaws too, so I need you to give Misty money.
Give Misty $40 billion for Santa Jaws 2.
Yeah.
In space.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Let's talk about stuff everybody watched. Dakota, what's some good stuff you've watched lately?
I just recently finished covering Fantasia Festival that takes place physically in Montreal, but I am not physically in Montreal. So I watched a bunch of the movies online and had a good time with that, which I think you guys would probably enjoy some of them.
Did Prisoners of the Ghostland play there?
It did, but it was only an in-person screening, so I did not get to see it because that sounded absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm dying to see that.
But some of the ones I saw, there's a documentary called Alien on Stage, where it's about this group of bus drivers in England who decide to do a theatrical production of Alien.
Oh, yeah, I want to see that too.
And it is amazing because you start watching and like you think it's going to be a bit of a train wreck, but they end up like coming together, and these two women end up seeing this small community theater production and convince them to mount it for one night on London's West End, and it becomes this huge hit. So it's actually like really uplifting, and it ends up being like quite hilarious. Like every big moment you expect to be like the big sort of like the quote unquote scary moments, jump scares in Alien, those get like the biggest laughs. But they actually do a really good job adapting it to stage, so it's quite impressive. I know they're still looking for distribution because I actually interviewed the directors of it. It's just doing the festival circuit right now, but definitely keep an eye out for Alien on Stage. It's really good. Another one that I saw, which was actually really interesting, every once in a while they'll screen films that have been remastered. So the label Synapse Films remastered this 70s Spanish-Portuguese horror film called Tombs of the Blind Dead.
Oh, movie rules.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you guys have seen it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and so it was a remastered version of it, and it was absolutely gorgeous. I really enjoyed it. Never seen it before, never even heard of it, but it was a ton of fun. And, like, tell me I'm not wrong, but, like, those the zombies, these creatures, had to be an inspiration for the ring wraiths in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like, that is something Peter Jackson would have seen, right?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not crazy. And then the last one I'll sort of mention is this South African film. It was a first-time film by this director, Kelsey Egan, named Glass House. And it's really interesting. It's kind of a pandemic film about this gas in the atmosphere that turns people's brains to mush, basically. I know none of us could really relate to that. But they're living in this glass house, and it's this woman with her 3 daughters and 1 son. And then one of the daughters comes across a guy who she saves and brings inside the glass house that they live in. And like a whole bunch of like family secrets start being spilled, and it becomes like a really fucked up mind piece. It's not like a traditional horror. It really sort of like plays with different horror tropes as far as like folk horror. There's a little bit of body horror, psychological thriller, stuff like that. But it's all really simmering. And I think this movie might end up being like a bit of a cult hit down the line. I could definitely see that. So I definitely recommend a movie called Glass House if that ever comes out.
Nice. I remember just like seeing stuff about that Alien play, and then that somebody started making a documentary on it, and I've been wanting to see it since. And like I low-key almost like bought a ticket for, it's either Fantasia or maybe somewhere else was screening it too, and I was like, maybe I'll buy an online ticket just to like watch this, and then I just was like, yeah, I'll wait.
Yeah, I originally saw it at South by Southwest back in March. I had a screener link for that, and so when I was playing Fantasia, I watched it again in preparation of interviewing the two directors. But yeah, I know they're still looking for distribution, but you know, it seems like every week they're adding new festivals that's playing it, so it's just a matter of time before it eventually gets picked up by someone.
Oh yeah, there's no way that's not getting picked up.
Like Shudder or Tubi or whatever it might be. Like someone's going to distribute this movie.
Do you get to see the whole play?
You get to see a good chunk of it. Like the first half to 3/4 of it, it's really about like them getting ready to mount the play, and then they do show a good chunk of it, especially sequences that you don't see them rehearsing. So it's actually pretty, like they show a good chunk of it. Obviously they don't show the entire thing, but you get a real feel for it, and they have cameras in the audience as well, so you see them reacting. It's one of those ones where, kind of like Rocky Horror, where there's a bit of interaction with the crowd. So like when people are like approaching the alien, and you could see the alien kind of creeping on stage, the audience is being like, "No, watch your back," sort of thing like that. So like the audience was like super into it, and you just like really feel so proud for everyone that was involved.
I've seen like a handful of pictures of the alien costume, but it looks so awesome.
It's so good, so good.
Katie.
Not to be that guy, but Bob's Burgers also did an episode about them doing Alien as a play. Did you see that one?
Yeah, the Freaky Friday one.
Yeah.
It's so I lost my mind. I started watching that episode and I realized what they were doing, where it's Freaky Friday, but also aliens.
So good. Which actually segues for me personally into what I watched, which I did recently rewatch Freaky Friday. The one with Lindsay Lohan and why am I blanking on her name? You guys know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, the other Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
Her sister, Lindsay Lohan.
What?
Oh, no,
Lindsay Lohan and her older sister, Lindsay Lohan.
Trap. Never mind. It's Jamie Lee
Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah.
I was thinking Parent Trap, and I was like, yeah,
one.
that's also Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. No, the Freaky Friday, yeah, with Jamie Lee Curtis. And that movie is, like, actually hilarious. Like, I don't know. It's just funny. So we rewatched that, and I had a really good time. I didn't really watch a lot, though, to be honest. Like, we finished watching all of the Twilight movies, as most of the U.S. has, and that was really great to see. I had mentioned that my brother-in-law had not seen them before, and it was really great to see his reaction during the last movie. So it was worth it, and it was hilarious. I also rewatched Beethoven. Great A+ film.
You would kid.
Man, what a weird night. And then the only thing that I watched, like, that had been on my watch list, because, you know, I watched, like, 12 terrible Amityville movies, was I did finally get to see Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Ooh, yeah, so did I.
So overall, I actually really liked it. I don't really have, like, I read the stories when I was younger, but they were not, like, a part of my childhood, so I didn't really have any stake in it at all. And aside from the ending, which I felt it just was one of those things where just, like, the ending just, like, resolved itself really fast for no reason. Aside from that, I actually really liked it. Like, I thought the monsters looked really cool. And again, especially for teens, I felt like it was an appropriate teen horror movie. So I'm glad that it exists. I would definitely watch it again. Just for the opening sequence, really had like strong, just like feel good Halloween vibe. And then I also watched. Have you guys seen The Witching Hour? It's like an anthology.
No.
So Worst Horror Podcast always was like talking
Oh,
and
that's
posting
right.
about
That's what I know it from.
Yeah, so The Witching Hour I finally watched last year, and it's an anthology, and I enjoyed it. They made a full-length movie based off of one of the skits called They Live Inside Us, and it released last year. It's 2021, so last year.
Is it?
I don't know. Who knows, actually. It was okay. I think I really liked the score and the way that the movie was filmed, but I personally liked it better as a short. Like, I don't feel like they added enough to make it. Like, I'm just not really sure why they did a full length of it or whatever, but it was fine. Like, I liked the twist, but, I don't know. I liked the anthology better. And I think that's all I watched, except for like MasterChef.
What about you, Kit? I know you've watched like a bunch of shit lately.
Yeah. So I watched Body Heat,
Perfect.
which rules.
So
it's
good. It's the Kathleen
William
Turner
Hurt
one, right?
being. Yes. William Hurt is a really dumb, like shitty local private eye who gets wrapped up and convinced to help a lady commit murder, his mistress.
Ooh.
And it turns out that, she's just using him to get money from her husband. So good. So very sweaty. Sweatiest movie I've ever seen.
I love all those like 80s and 90s, like early 90s kind of like erotic
neo-noir
thriller. Yeah, like that shit. Like, it's all like, some of it's kind of cheesy, but a lot of them are like really good.
Like that and Body Double.
Yeah.
If you want to have a body double feature. I watched A Return to Salem's Lot for the first time.
Oh no.
Pretty solid.
I'm getting...
Werewolves Within.
Oh, how was that?
That was great.
Oh yeah.
Just
I loved
Sam
it.
Richardson yelling it a lot?
Oh yeah.
See, like, they're goosed up werewolves.
He's perfect. Yeah.
They wear goose suits.
Got all
It's
the
a little
werewolves
carnival
in
term.
goose suits. Carved up. Watched
Did you
every
rent it?
Scorpion King movie. Yeah, we rented it.
Oh my god. Okay. It's been on my list, but I'm not willing to pay for it.
I think after
so.
I get through these fucking stupid Amityville movies I have to watch, I'm gonna watch the Scorpion King movies now.
Oh
my god.
So, 1 is, fine, whatever. 2 sucks. It's borderline unbearable. Then 3 kicks ass. It has a ninja slow motion pop up out of a lake and kick a guy square in the dick while he's peeing into the lake. Incredible. 4,
Was
not
it Jean-Claude
as good
Van
as 3.
Damme?
I don't think so, but I have no way of proving.
Yeah, it was just a mummy, so. Anything else?
I think that was really it.
Alright, I watched something like 45 movies since we recorded last. So we'll talk about all of them. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, like Katie said. I liked it. It's pretty good. It's like it's not the best. It's not like a great movie, but it's a totally watchable, like, teen horror movie.
Pretty fun.
Rewatched Bill and Ted Face the Music, like, literally the night we recorded that episode. Just great. I finished the 80s playlist on Arrow. I gotta say, didn't really like most of them. Basket Cases
Bummer.
still fine. Bride of Reanimator rules. The Hills Have Eyes Part 2 is trash. I don't know what Wes Craven was doing with it, but that movie sucks.
I don't think I even finished it.
It's-
I tried to watch it. I was like, yeah, I don't give a shit
It's
about this.
terrible. I watched Doom Asylum for the first time, which,
It's fine.
yeah, it's like, again, like a totally watchable, like, 80s slasher kind of movie. Bloodstone is a movie I watched that I don't remember any of, which makes sense because I gave it 1.5 stars. I watched The Mutilator, which I did not like. I then watched a movie Kit's gonna be mad about, Tourist Trap, that I do not like.
Yeah, I like Mutilator more than Tourist Trap.
I don't understand.
I'm more upset about the Mutilator thing.
I don't understand, like, I just think I didn't like any of the characters in the Mutilator. Like, it's just, like, I need characters that, like, I care about to, like, feel like I give a shit that they're getting murdered off, and, like, I just didn't have that with the Mutilator. Tourist Trap, I don't understand why people love that movie so much.
It's no House of Wax, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see. Bloody Birthday was fine. The Wind was fine. The Zero Boys was terrible.
I like The Wind.
It was like
that's
I gave it like 2 out of 5. It's fine. It's like a movie that
that's the one that I like forever ago when Michelle was on. She recommended
different
it
one.
like 2 years ago.
Different The Wind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is
Because the one that she recommended, I saw was streaming on something recently, and I was like, I have to remember to watch it this time.
I watched
never mind.
a movie called Vigil from it's like a New Zealand movie about, which kind of fucking ruled. Is like this family living on this farm in, like, you know, the just like backwoods of New Zealand, where like the father dies. And then the same time that he dies, this, like, weird stranger shows up and just, like, starts kind of taking over the family while the daughter, like, thinks it's the devil. That's, like, the best way to explain it. It's pretty fucking good. I'm, like, based on that and watching, oh shit, I can't remember the name of it. Whatever that Sam Neill's first movie. I'm like very interested in like what New Zealand had going on in the 70s and 80s now. I watched Brain Damage. Just incredible movie. That movie fucking rules. Maybe my favorite Frank Henenlotter movie I've watched so far. Have
you watched Frankenhooker yet?
I have. Frankenhooker's up there, but Brain Damage is just wild.
Yes.
Let's see, I watched Dream Demon, Erotic Nights of the Living Dead, still a perfect movie. I watched The Prey, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's like another 80s slasher where I'd say 80% of the movie is just the footage from Grizzly 2 of the woods and shit. Like, they literally, it's like they made a 10-minute movie and then just filled it with nature footage. It's fucking terrible. I watched Gamera Super Monster, which rules. I'm very, very stoked to start digging into all of the Gamera movies on there.
Yeah. Gamera kicks ass.
I watched Return of the Killer Tomatoes twice, because why not? Evil Ed, which was very good. Let's see. Microwave Massacre is pretty bad. I watched Burst City, which is this weird Japanese movie about like punk bands in kind of like a futuristic wasteland of Tokyo. I recommend, if that sounds like your thing. I then watched The Ginger Weed Man, which is 44 minutes. Kind of racist, but also like it's full moon, so they always have like kind of weird racist jokes in it.
I'm very surprised it's only kind of racist.
It's
right.
Well, it's because there's a character in it from another full moon movie that's like that Ooga Booga character.
Oh no.
So, but they also like draw attention to the fact that it's racist, so it's very weird. But it's also it's the Ginger Weed Man, so go watch it. It's very stupid. I watched this movie called Crystal Eyes, like Crystal Eyes. That is a Spanish giallo from 2017. that's really good, and I highly recommend. It's on Arrow right now if you have it, or just get the free subscription and then cancel if you want. But it's about this model that dies, and then all of a sudden this weird mannequin starts killing people. That I won't ruin the ending because but I don't know, a mannequin that is killing people in a Giallo movie, fully on board. I started watching Vice Academy, the Vice Academy movies, which is a Linnea Quigley Police Academy ripoff about sexy ladies in the 80s being police officers, I guess, but it's very weird. And then I watched, Caitlin and I went to the drive-in and saw Old and Candyman, and I do not recommend either. Oh no,
I enjoyed your tweet.
I take it back. I recommend Old because Old is extremely stupid. And this is the fucking weirdest thing I've seen in a long time, and I don't know how anyone gave M. Night Shyamalan movie to make, or money to make it. You get to see somebody get pregnant and give birth within 10 minutes, and then the baby dies immediately because it was neglected for 30 seconds, which equaled apparently 10 days in that time span or something. It's very stupid. But also not a fan of M. Night Shyamalan naming the one black man in the movie Mid-Sized Sedan, the rapper. Not
Doesn't
great.
sound up my alley.
If it comes to streaming for free, I would recommend watching it just to see how baffling it is. Other than that, I would not recommend paying for it. And then I watched a bunch of Amityville movies that I also don't recommend anyone watch ever.
No.
Alright, shout outs. Katie, what do you want to shout out?
I'm gonna shout out the new Death Heaven album, Infinite Granite. It is awesome, and you should go listen to it.
Alright, what about you, Kit?
There's a new Sturgill album, and it's a concept album about a donkey. So
I don't know why I didn't think the word donkey was going to come out at the end of that sentence. So, Dakota, what do you want to shout out?
I am not letting being in my 30s stop me from trying new things, so I decided to buy a skateboard.
Hell yeah.
Yes!
Yeah, shout out to Land Yachts out here in Vancouver who helped hook me up with a good cruiser board, so that way I can learn how to do that.
Oh yeah, did
for
anybody
you.
see the Lil Nas X tweet or the TikTok video I guess he made with him and Tony Hawk yesterday?
No.
No.
I recommend looking it up. It's because there was they had that weird internet beef thing for an hour about people being excited Tony Hawk was using blood in a skateboard, but people harassed Lil Nas X about putting blood in shoes. And so he made this video where it's little Lil Nas X with a skateboard on a half pipe, and he's like, hey, what's up, everybody? I'm gonna do some tricks for you all. Probably do this inverted whatever. Names a couple tricks, and then he goes and gets on the edge and stands on the skateboard and stands still. The way it's edited is very funny because he stands still for about 4 seconds, and then it immediately hard cuts to Tony Hawk skateboarding and doing a bunch of tricks, and Tony Hawk jumps out of the half pipe and lands and stands there for 3 or 4 seconds, and it cuts back to Lil Nas X, and he's just all right, see you guys later. It's pretty funny.
No, I need to look that up. Tony Hawk has been all over the place recently, on TikTok specifically. He did one with Avril Lavigne. He's also, for some reason, in Subway commercials, which, whatever. But I did see the video where they were talking about, where they were, drawing his blood to put in the skateboard. He looks very not into it. The look on his face is literally, I'm too old for this shit. It is hilarious. But no, awesome. Yeah, I love skateboarding, so I'm excited for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I only fell once on my first time trying it out, and it hurt.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good.
I hadn't like skateboarded
I mean,
in
honestly.
like 15 years at one point and got back on a skateboard and I was like, I don't remember how to do this.
Yeah.
Well, I did it on a basketball court, so it was like nice and smooth
Yeah.
and perfectly paved and going as slow as possible. So the fact that I still fell once tells you a lot about my skill level.
Well, surprisingly,
Listen,
from...
when I
Go ahead.
was gonna say, I literally same experience like during when the pandemic first started learning how to skateboard, and I was also on a basketball court, and I fell a few times. So
I was gonna say,
the important thing is that you just get back up.
surprisingly,
Thank you.
my center of gravity changed between age like 22 and 30 something. So I was like,
'Cause
oh,
you're like 9 foot tall now, so
I am not as skinny as I used to be, and I do not know how to do this anymore.
you know what's crazy is like I used to rollerblade a lot, like all the time, constantly
Yeah, that
rollerblading.
checks out.
And then when Chris like bought a skateboard, he got me rollerblades. I could not for the life of me get the hang of it at all, and I was like, I know I'm old now, but come on. So the skateboard was easier, but then I got super into it. So I don't know, try new stuff.
Yeah, go hurt yourself. It's the I Hope You Suffer recommendation.
Yeah.
No, I used to love skateboarding. That was like all I did as a teenager, and I hate that. Like, I feel like if I wouldn't have like given it up when I started like having to have a job and shit, I probably would still be doing it. But like the amount of time I had between
Yeah.
like that and trying it again, I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I also like I've worked so many like physical jobs that just my knees and back can't do it anymore.
yeah.
So anyway, my recommendation is the new Churches album, Screen Violence. It rules. I recommended their like remix split with John Carpenter, maybe the last episode we did or something like that, one of the last couple episodes, but the full album's out. It rules. The song with Robert Smith from The Cure is very good, so go listen to that and then go listen to The Cure. It's my all the time recommendation. Listen to The Cure. All right.
Why not?
Next week is our 3-year anniversary episode.
What the fuck?
Aw.
Yeah, it's been 3 years.
Two very different reactions there.
We are going to be doing a Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bolorama, which is, I feel,
What?
A classic.
a perfect movie for an anniversary episode. Katie, have you seen that?
What? Slime ball, babe?
So no.
What is it?
Sorority
Close enough.
Babes in the Slime Ball Bolorama. It's on like Tubi and
Okay,
Shudder. It's on a bunch of stuff.
I can safely say that no, I have not seen
Oh,
that.
you're in for a treat. I cannot wait for you to hear one of the voices in this movie.
Oh god.
So that'll be next week. Man Thing was supposed to be this week, and then Dakota's schedule opened up, so Man Thing will be coming after the next episode, because we are not missing Man Thing like we did with the sand for like 3 weeks.
Sand
Oh my
thing.
god. Oh yeah.
Schedule.
Oh well.
No, I was ready to do Fangs as early as we could, because I especially once when I posted on Instagram, and then I was like, oh, I'm like trying to find this, and someone posted the link. I was like, some other podcast is gonna jump in here before us and cover this now, so I was like, I want to get this movie done. So I was like, whenever, like, I was fully ready to just jettison whatever movie we were ready to do whenever you were available. So
I appreciate it.
yeah, I'm glad we finally got to do Fangs, because I watched this movie like maybe a month ago. Whenever the guy Shad from Jump Scare shared the link for it, and I was just like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this. Like I said, I've watched it twice now since then, so I love it. Yeah, so Dakota, do you want to tell people where they can find you, listen to Contra Zoom, all that stuff? Maybe whatever you have coming up in the future that you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can check out the show Contra Zoom Pod. It is on all podcast platforms, Twitter or Instagram at Contra Zoom Pod as well. So that's super easy to find. All the socials are the exact same. The movies I was talking about earlier, the Fantasia Fest stuff, just put out that episode of a wrap up for that. And then it's festival season, so I'm going to be covering Toronto International Film Festival, Vancouver International Film Festival. There's going to be lots of good stuff coming up over the next little while. And I'm definitely hoping to have you on somewhat soonish again, Nathan, because I'm doing a complete rewatch of A24 films. And guess which one is an early A24 film?
Oh, I'm in. Tusk. Let's go.
So yeah, when that happens, you'll definitely have to come on for that, because I feel, from what I've seen of it, I think we'll definitely need someone that is in the positive corner of that movie.
Oh yeah, I will talk about that movie all day.
Yeah. So there you go. So people can hopefully look forward to that somewhere down the line as well.
Yeah, Katie and I have done 2 episodes with you now. 2?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We did the William Friedkin documentary, which was very good. And then you had us on for October last year. What it was?
Yeah. The last year, the year before, talking about like your favorite Halloween movies.
Yeah, those were both pretty fun. So go check those out. Listen to the rest of it. Obviously, Dakota covers usually pretty good movies, as opposed to, Amityville Clown House or whatever bullshit we're talking about most of the time. But yeah, go check out Contra Zoom. It's very good.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah. I had been like trying to find a movie for Dakota to come on for almost a year, that I was just like I'm trying to find something that I feel like Dakota would probably want to watch, and then this came along, and I was like, perfect. I feel like the idea of a Rocky Horror like ripoff, just, I don't know, for whatever reason, felt like something you would have been fully on board with, as opposed to like our last guest, Dylan, watching Grime Wave 3 Cockface Killer. So apologies to Dylan again. No apologies to Kit.
Coming back another time.
Yeah.
maybe not a movie like Cockface, but something else.
I feel like Kit and I maybe got our fill of that shit with that Ant Farm Dickhole. I think we're good forever.
I warned you. I told you.
Look, there's still 2 more.
You didn't want to listen.
Don't test me. There's 2 you haven't seen.
Oh, jeez.
If you want to support us, you could subscribe to our Patreon. I think this is out. Yeah, our Keanu Reeves bonus episode just dropped with about River's Edge, Dracula, and Bill and Ted Face the Music. So you can listen to that.
Very fun episode.
Yeah, it was probably like the first one since Danny DeVito that we had like 3 movies we all actually liked.
Yeah.
But that's patreon.com/I Hope You Suffer podcast. Merch at Teespring and Storefront Tier Shops. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram at I Hope You Suffer podcast. Follow Kit at Hidden Kitstery. Follow Katie at Werewolf Face. Caitlin and I released a new episode of Nate Kate Movie Club on Spider-Man Homecoming, which was very fun. I haven't gotten to like nerd out about comic book movies in a while, so that was fun, having to try to not spoil any of the MCU movies, but also explain all of the stuff Caitlin didn't understand, and also try to explain like 60 years of Spider-Man lore to them. Was
easy peasy.
Yeah. Very, very easy. So you can listen to that, Nate Kate Movie Club. Dakota, thanks for joining us for this. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hell yeah, thank you.
Yep. All right. I hope you suffer, but live a creamy life.
I knew that was coming. I thought you were going to say, leave us a review and tell us if you have a creamy life.
No,
and I was like, they might get marked.
I don't want anybody to do that. No one tell me about your creamy life.
Let us know about your pink life.
Yeah, if you have a pink life.
I don't want to know about either of those.
تسمح لي يا طايم تسمح لي يا طايم بالصلب نقول دستورك واحد بالصلب نقول دستورك واحد وكلامنا وشوشة ونموت في الفرفشة هقدم ليكوا نفسي ما انا نفسي كويسة بصريح النية اصلي انا صاحب مدرسة راح اقدم ليكوا نفسي ده انا نفسي كويسة بصريح النية اصلي انا صاحب مدرسة في اصول الفرفشة وخناق العلشة وشاب داير وقاشش واخر جراشة وشاب داير وقاشش واخر جراشة أنا ذنبي الفدا الدنيا دي يا صاحبي يا بنبي أسودا لو حظك مش مصاحبي أنا ذنبي الفدا أنا حظي دندشة والأشياء بشبشة فجورة في قعدالة وآخر جراشة فجورة في قعدالة وآخر جراشة وانا اصلي لابد لها رزنجي في كل حته لاخر دمها السكه رز وقشطه وانا اصلي لابد لها رزنجي في كل حته والاخر دمها متخربش خربشه مش حرفشه